Neville Goddard, October 14, 1968. The Source, Lecture Excerpts. Man is seeking the source, the cause of the phenomena of life. In his search, he grows and outgrows his many concepts of God, until he finds the one God he can never outgrow, and therefore can never lose. That is the God which he finds in a first-person, present-tense experience. Here is a true story that verges on this truth. While a friend was shaving, his little girl watched, and questioning him, asked, "Where does God really live?" And he absent-mindedly answered, "In the well." Laughing at his silly answer, the little girl ran to tell her mother. At breakfast that morning, when his wife asked why he made such a statement, he could not answer, but later that day he remembered. When he was a small boy in Poland, a band of gypsies passed by and stopped at the well in his parents' courtyard. One in particular held his attention. He was a giant of a man with a short cropped red beard. As the little boy watched, the man drew the wooden bucket of water from the well. His posture and great hands made the bucket appear as though it weighed no more than a teacup. And as he drank, the water trickled down his beard and onto his chest. When the man was finished, he untied a multicolored silk scarf, and mopping his face, he wiped his beard, and leaning over, he looked deep into the well for what seemed to the child a very long time. Curious, the little boy tried to climb the well's side to see what was inside. Seeing him, the man smiled, picked the small boy up and said, "Do you know where God lives?" Shaking his head no, the man held him over the well and said, "Look." In the stillness of that water, the boy saw his own reflection and said, "That's me." And the man replied, "Ah, now you know where God lives." This concept is nearer to the truth of God than 99% of the people hold. Here was a so-called ignorant gypsy traveling from town to town who knew where God lived and turned to no other. Seeing the well, he knew there would be water, owned, yes, by the one who lived in the manor, but they would not stop him from using his water. Having no desire to accumulate things, this giant of a man taught this little boy a marvelous lesson for all of us to remember. When you see your reflection, whether in a mirror or on the surface of a pool, you are looking into the face of God. Man can be told over and over again that he is not going to find God as another, but he cannot believe it until that pattern buried in the head unfolds. Then and only then will he know beyond all doubt who God is. Having seen the face of radiant love, and being incorporated into the body of love, I cannot lose my God. I have found him to be my own wonderful human imagination, and cannot outgrow him. I cannot go elsewhere, and I cannot lose this God. He is my God forever and forever, and he is my very self. Having revealed himself to me, he and I became one in a first-person, singular, present-tense experience. Then everything said of the pattern man we call Jesus unfolded in me, and I now say, without embarrassment or any bowing of the head, I am he. As long as I continue to wear my frail little body of flesh and blood, I cannot claim my heavenly inheritance. But I know it will be instantly mine when I leave this body for the last time. Can you conceive of a desire and be fervent about it? Can you want the grace of God with the same intensity as the psalmist who said, "As the hart panteth after the water brooks, so panteth my soul after thee, O God"? Here is a little deer, for that is what the heart is, knowing that wild beasts prey upon every animal drinking there, desires water with such intensity he is willing to brave anything to get to that little pool. If you could become that thirsty for God, you would find him in yourself, in a first-person, present-tense experience, for you will never find him in any other way. In the book of John, he tells an incredible story saying, "I am God the Father. When you see me, you see the Father. Do you not know that I am in the Father and the Father in me? Making one fantastic statement after the other, he adds, I have told you before it takes place, so that when it does take place, you will believe that I am he. For we are told, unless you believe that I am he, you die in your sins. John emphasizes over and over again that you must believe you are the one you would like to be, or you will never become it, or you will never become it. Rather, you will remain what you believe yourself to be right now. Your belief is always externalizing itself on the screen of space. It has to, for it is in you and not out there. It has to, for it is in you and not out there. When your belief becomes a fact and appears solidly real on the outside, it is because it is supported by you on the inside. The day you cease to believe in it, it will fade, for everything must be built on the foundation of belief. I believe I am a success. I will remain a success only to the extent that I continue to believe I am. The day I stop believing, failure enters and success fades. You must believe you are in a certain state. You cannot forget it if you want to externalize that state. You may drop it after reaching a certain point, but if you want to keep it alive, you must do it within yourself, for nothing comes into being unsupported by an imaginal act, and nothing remains unless supported by that act. The day imaginal support is withdrawn, the thing begins to vanish and ceases to be in your world. This is true for a marriage, a friendship, or a business. If you know what you want, give it to yourself, for there is only one source of causation. That source is God. He is the dreamer in you who will awaken from this wonderful dream of life. And when he does, you will realize you have been dreaming all along. Many great poets have tried to tell this, but man cannot comprehend that the poet, in touch with a deeper layer of his own being, was awakened and recorded his experiences until it happens in the individual. The dreamer in you is God. It is he who is the source, the cause of your life. Dream fervently, dream with intensity. I know a lady in New York City who, as a combination seamstress and designer, was not earning much, and wanted not only to have a better income, but to do more designing than sewing. When she discussed this with me and told me the amount of money she wanted to make, I urged her not to limit herself, asking, would you like to supervise those who do the sewing, as well as doing the designing? And when she told me she would love that, I urged her to write down the amount of money she would like to make, deduct her taxes, and determine the balance. Figuring it out to the penny. Figuring it out to the penny, and believing she would be paid in cash. This lady felt the envelope containing the bills and coins she would receive. Shaking the envelope, she heard the change rattle. Then she tore off the end of the envelope and let the money fall on the table, pulled out the bills and smelled them. Do you know you can smell money? It has an odor of its very own like nothing else. Then this lady counted the money, down to the very penny. The next day, while in her room at a hotel on 34th Street, her telephone rang and she was advised that a gentleman was downstairs and wanted to see her. She had never met this man before, but knew his reputation, and certainly never dreamed of him calling her. But she met him in the lobby, where they discussed business on the terms that she would be more and more the designer and less the seamstress. She then named the salary that we had discussed, and when he agreed, she promised to start working for him the following Monday. 1 week later, when she opened her envelope, she counted her money out to the very penny she had imagined only a week before. Now how can you call that coincidence? She was eager to make a change. I urge you not to despair. If you have tried and tried to imagine yet failed, don't give up. Try to be more intense. Try to be more believing concerning the reality of your imaginal act. Man, believing in the mechanism of the universe, finds it difficult to see it as imaginal, but it is. You could tell him 100 such stories, but steeped in believing that this world is mechanical and must be moved on the outside, Man finds it difficult to understand that the world will reshuffle itself to reflect any change that takes place in the individual. But the change takes place in the imagination, not in the world. No matter what it is you desire, remember, nothing is impossible. What is now proved was once only imagined. So believe by imagining a state and persuading yourself that you are in it. There was a time in imagination when a firm persuasion removed mountains. You can remove the seemingly mountainous obstacles which confront you by simply ignoring them and assuming the end. And if you have to go over the mountain, you will, or the mountain will be removed. Whatever is necessary to be removed, for you to fulfill what you have assumed, will be done for you as long as you remain faithful to yourself, the source of all life. Now let us go into the silence.